Welcome to another episode of the Dibbly Dobblers Cricket Podcast. As always, I'm your main host, Callum, and as always, I'm joined by professional numpty over here, Andrew.
Just professional numpty this time. On the third take, it's just professional numpty.
Director, dinner lady shoe shiner, Aberfeldy groundsman, pro grass cutter.
Pro grass cutter. I don't know if the lines weren't very straight that I was cutting this evening.
No,
but
I loved that the boy said, go in a straight line, and literally you just went off on a sort of diagonal curve. And me and him are late going, that is the worst straight line I have ever seen.
Yeah,
but nonetheless,
nice hour and a half.
Victoria Park is looking glorious.
It's looking the best it's looked all year, I have to say.
Low standard to meet, but that's still
true. But it's true. It is true. We actually got an outfield where the ball might run.
We have a motorised roller.
Yeah.
With mechanics' words are noisiest engine he's ever heard. Not a lie. I've heard diesel trains that are quieter than that. And what appears to basically be a go-kart with a motor attached to it. But it works. It's alive.
Yeah. So, yeah, and we'd got a big loan of a big ride-on mower. It was good fun.
Right.
For the first 10 minutes. And then the next hour and 20 minutes were just painful. But we got there. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's I was making an appropriate joke, but I made that on take one and, you know, it just wouldn't be the same.
Indeed, yeah. Right.
Anyway, on to talking about cricket. That
so what's on tonight's episode? Well, we've got an interview tonight.
Oh my God. So
I'm saying tonight. It's tonight as we record.
I mean, when it's on to take 47, it might actually be Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And we'll be like, could you just start making the lunches for our game? That'd be great.
Yeah. So we've got an interview with Bryce Carnegie of Arbroath. Arbroath United, yes. Apologies.
I don't know if two clubs actually united to form that or quite how that came about, but that's what
we should have asked.
We should have. Terrible.
Oh well. Next time.
Next week.
So that's coming up for you a little bit later. But before we do that, we do our usual roundup.
Roundup.
Yeah. We are coming to the business end of the season now.
It's business time.
Things are getting interesting. So let's have a look at how the SPCU clubs in the Eastern Premier League fared.
Hopefully this all goes smoothly. We usually have a screen kind of in front of the camera, but a water bottle killed that. So we are on our independent screen, so hopefully this goes well. So when Andrew's giving me audio prompts, you'll know why.
Yeah.
Okay. So EPL.
Yep.
Heriots thrashed Forfs.
They did. Forfar bowled out for 188. Heriots 189 for 1 from 24 overs. Kind of done what Forfarshire have done to a few teams over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I don't think Forfarshire were particularly helped by Craig Wallace being missing.
Yeah.
And Heriots were kind of near full Arsenal. So certainly on the batting front anyway. But very good opening stand by Heriots was the undoing. Unfortunately, it is kind of repeated theme for SPCU teams in the EPL this week. Yeah,
because next up, Stumel 200 for 9 defeated Stonywood Dice, bowled out
that's
for
meant
100.
To be a 50, not a 5.
200 for 9 from 5 overs. But yeah, the Stonywood Dice bowled out for 129 in 35 overs. Leonard Bester 72, but nothing really else to write home about there.
No, I think from looking at the scorecard, to be fair, Stu Mell's opening pair, who's Tandil and Shah, just kind of ripped them apart. Bester offered resistance, and that was the best they could muster up.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it is.
Wow. Watsonians, big score, 349 for 6 from their 50. Centuries from Carson and Hares. And Falkland bowled out for 199. Not an awful total, but yeah.
An awful lot less.
An awful lot less than Watsonians.
But again, I mean, opening pairs, Carson and Hares are Watsonians openers. So, yeah. I mean, there's a pretty good chance that was a 200-run opening stand or no far off it. So, two very good batsmen, to be fair, two of the most destructive batsmen in the whole EPL. So I think Falkland had their day. Grange were not bowled out on this next line either.
Yeah, you've done well this week, haven't you?
Well, at least it's better than whatever one I totally messed up last week.
Yeah.
I think all the graphics last week were wrong. Grange, I think, were 2 wickets down.
Something like that.
Something
Yeah,
like
Arbroath, 106 all out. Vihan Luba, 55 in his final game for Arbroath.
Yes. Well, Bryce's brother, Harris, was the Carnegie.
Yeah.
So it's not... I've not typoed that one. He was playing for
Yes,
Grange,
indeed,
so.
as they won that one pretty comfortably. So...
All round, very bad week for the SPCU teams.
Not
And given
great.
that 3 of the 4 are in the relegation dogfight and just remain, so big loss for Arbroath, though, you fancy.
So we'll bring the table up now. Arbroath they're adrift. Not much to separate Falkland and Stonywood Dice, only 10 points between them. But yeah, Arbroath are, I'm trying to do the maths, 52 points adrift of Falkland with 3 games
the
left.
most they can get is 75 more points. So, I mean, it's not looking good.
Yeah. Another chasing and defeat this weekend could see them down.
Yes, and I'm trying to quickly do the maths. No, I think Heriots this week can seal the victory also of the title because there are currently 71 points between them. So there's 75 still to play for. So
so basically anything but a 0 bonus point game.
Yeah, Heriots need to get absolutely trounced the next 3 games.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not. I mean, Forfarshire second place. Just a little bit ahead of Grange at the moment, fighting out for that second place, but they've had a good year. Falkland actually at this point being not at the bottom, they would probably have taken that position at the start of the year.
I think survival would have been what they would have taken.
Yeah. Stonywood Dice had that strong start, and then actually have been pretty poor since then, unfortunately. And it's been a tough year for Arbroath.
NEC time?
NEC time. Let's have a look at what's going on there. So we'll have a look at the first results.
So it's on to Arbroath 2s, who very narrowly were defeated by Perth Ducat, who had a very good stat. So it was 2-4-2 for 7. Was it chasing 2-4-9 for 7 from Ducat.
So big stand in the Ducat innings with Tas Hussain getting 116 and the overseas pros Saeed getting 93.
Yeah, who seemed to have a little bit of a lull at the middle of the season, a wee bit. Usman kind of.
I mean, he's had a few weeks where he's not had masses of runs, but
I think that'll be very encouraging signs for Ducat, because over the years it's something they've struggled for, is other guys capable of making big runs and tons especially.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it though this year, what they've had, Babar Ali's had some big performances, Tass's brother Moose has had some big batting performances, so yeah, it is something that they've been missing over the last few years and seem to have found something there.
Yeah, and I'm sure having Usman at the crease probably helps the situation, but and Blair Carnegie put up a lot of resistance with a 62 and 4 for 22.
Yeah.
But just couldn't get over the line.
Yeah. Forfarshire's second 11 lost to Meagle. Meagle scored 289 for 4. 100 not out for Alan Neve and 76 not out from Josh Eddington. I think Josh's was at quite a...
It's
50 odd balls,
53, something like
that. Yeah. So he some good hitting towards the back end of the innings and fairly comfortable in the end as they bowled Forfarshire out for 192. Raju Gayashan with 4 wickets and Ian Stewart stepping up into their ones and taking 3.
Yeah, I think they were their 5th and 6th bowlers, I think, used on the day. So it does show that, Garden and Rennie obviously were going along nicely, but got pegged back.
Yeah.
And then on to the Fruki Dundee High School former pupils game. So Dundee High School were bowled out for 59 of 30 overs, with a 5 for Assad Gujar.
Yeah.
5 for 19. Don't know how many overs.
Because the card's not there.
Only even know off of Fruki's Facebook that even occurred. So, it's always good that. I feel like taking 30 overs to get bowled out for 59 must have been a drag.
Particularly for the bowlers.
Or just for everyone. It feels like one of those situations where it's like, for the love of God, can this just be over?
Yeah, there's someone in that innings who's got like 3 off 70 balls.
And Fruki clearly weren't hanging about, because they did chase down 9 overs, but did manage to lose 3 wickets in the process.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're just going to go out and try and hit, then I suppose that is the risk, isn't it? So we'll move on to the other 3 results, if I can find the right graphic.
Well, the first one, while you find the graphic and you can catch up, I would say it was the shock of the round, I would suggest.
Absolutely.
It was Stonywood Dice, who made 137 all out of 39.3 overs, defeated who have been a strong, and by the looks of the lineup, I don't think they were particularly weakened, Gordonians, who they bowled out for 113, with Ryan Williams really being the star of the show, as well as Hood. Williams taking 4 wickets, Hood taking 3. Very strong bowling performance, because it's not a lot of runs to defend.
It's not. No, I mean, I didn't see that result coming at all. I have to say, I thought that we'll get to our predictions later, but I thought Gordonians were a stick on for that one.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's an impressive result. And then next up, Aberdeenshire were bowled out for 193 by Kinloch, but then bowled Kinloch out for 152 themselves. You've got names and things that are
Have I done that all the way around?
Yeah,
it's alright. Don't worry about it. My graphics are always
I was like, why is Kenny Reid got 56 for Kinloch and Forrester taking 3 Aberdeenshire?
Did you not know
wickets?
they played the other way around? The swap teams.
Yeah. But yes, I think for a little moment there, I thought Kinloch were very much in that. I think they'd got past 100, only 5 down.
Yeah, I think that they were certainly in the contest.
Yeah.
But they couldn't do what they had done last week with their lower middle order pushed through. They had the ton last week. So they couldn't find that again against a very good Aberdeenshire side, to be fair.
And then the Huntly juggernaut keeps rolling. They were 189 for 8 in their game against Strathmore. Samuel Kukunitz with 90 off 111 balls, I think it was.
111 balls.
And Tian Brits returned for Strathmore to the longer format. He obviously played T20s last week, but this is his first game back after his injury in the NEC. He got 42 off roughly as many balls.
It wasn't roughly, it was
exactly as many balls.
It was 42
exactly,
42.
A run of ball 42. 4 wickets each for Mitchell and Squire of Huntly in that Strathmore innings sealed the Huntly victory.
Yep. The ball keeps rolling.
Indeed. And we move on to the NEC table, where Meagle retain
this could
that
be wrong.
slender advantage. Yeah, I'm not quite sure on the Huntly Aberdeenshire.
Well, I've taken it off of the official website.
You have, yeah.
So I haven't gone and calculated net run rate on my own or whatever. So
just for clarity, league rules state that if 2 teams are tied, then the team which has collected the most points in the matches between them will be the higher placed. And if that is tied, then it goes to net run rate. Going by my calculations, they've both picked up the same number of bonus points in their defeats.
Right.
So they are tied on that measure. So it does go to net run rate.
I mean, given that that's decided by the same committee that came up with this stupid fixture list this year, that doesn't surprise me. But head-to-head on a league is awful. I'm going to straight up say that. Net run rate should absolutely be the thing, because it's something that gauges your entire season performance.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with head-to-head then being the next level.
Yeah.
But basically taking what will end up being 14, 15 games and saying, it's only 2 games that matter.
Yeah.
It's about how you've done against the league as a whole, not head-to-head. So that's just my gripe to go along with the stupid fixture list this year.
But yeah, so I mean, it could not get any tighter for that battle for second place. Fruki, with their victory, have climbed a couple of places above Strathmore and Forfarshire, who both slipped down 1, and it's kind of as you were other than that.
Yeah, so it's all still down the bottom, although Stonywood Dice are having a bit of a late revival. They're doing the opposite to what their first team are doing. And well, what is it? I mean, they need another victory, and that would, if Arbroath were to lose and Stony would win. In fact, are they not playing each other?
What's the gap there? No, the gap's
it would
28 points. So they need 2 wins
because it's. I'm purely looking at but they're there or thereabout.
Yeah,
and they could not be towards the bottom.
Yeah, but I think I'd be pretty surprised if they got up towards. Although they have played a game less, so it comes to percentages rather than just number of points, doesn't it? So maybe they could kind of get up towards Kinloch, which is probably the line for safety.
Yeah. Which I think we might look at safety and things next week.
Yeah, I think so.
I have a sneaking suspicion we may know next week who's coming down. So for definite. So. But you never know. We'll see. And last but not least, Scottish Cup.
Scottish Cup, yes. So Forfarshire were in action.
I just punched your table and that really helped.
Yeah, Forfarshire were in action in the Scottish Cup. We'll talk about them in a second. The other semi-final was Grange against Ayr. Ayr prevailed in that one with a 71 from Michael English being that was the performance. That
was the standout performance of the day by a long way.
Yeah.
Like, all the wickets were kind of shared around. I think some other guys got, Grange, they can't have had someone who got 40 because I would have listed them.
Yeah.
So, comfortably man of the match then, I would suggest.
Yeah. Forfarshire were playing Watsonians. They bowled them out for 119. Belwell with 3 for 39. He seems to perform pretty well when he's played, but he hasn't played all that much this year, has he?
No, I think that's because of work. I don't think he's very available. But yeah, I mean, he took the wickets of. We touched on Saturday how well Carson and Hares did, and Belwell dismissed them both.
Yeah,
and
massive.
Took Vos, the wicketkeeper who bats at 4 as well, who's probably, I think, by season stats, probably of the 11 they had playing, has probably been their next best performing batsman. So it was a very big 3 for that he took.
Yeah, and then in the chase, 121 for 3, only 15 overs taken to get there, thanks to Michael Leask when he came in, hitting 44 off 19
He
balls.
must have been in the oven or something.
Yeah.
He was just like, sorry boys, can I be bothered with this?
Yeah, just get that over and done with. I need to
It's happened
rest,
to the best of us, to be fair.
Yeah.
It has happened to the best of us.
It's just the 150 odd run shot.
Shh. Pretty sure he hit 44 off me, so
off less than 19.
Shush, we don't need to go into this, okay? Right, team of the week.
Team of the week. So that performance from Michael Leask does get him into the team of the week as well. We'll go through it in detail. Samuel Kukunitz of Huntly for that 90, and Alan Neve, his 100 not out. We've not got very many openers in this side.
We usually got about 4 million of them.
We do.
So it doesn't really matter.
We do have an opener, but we've got him listed as 8.
Well, he's not in for his band. So.
Yeah. Then the Ducat pair of Hussein and Saeed. Josh Eddington for that 76 not out of 53. Then, as we mentioned, Michael Leask. Blair Carnegie for that all-round performance in defeat ultimately to Perth Ducat. Jack Mitchell, 4 for 17 off 8 overs and 39 off 71 balls against Strathmore, and Jordan Squire for 4 for 30 in the same match. Ryan Williams, 4 for 31 off 9 against Gordonians for Stoneywood Dice, and Asad Gujar for his 5 for 19 against Dundee High School. Former pupils makes up the team of the week.
Team of the week.
We couldn't decide on a player of the week this week, could we?
No, we couldn't.
Debated it back and forth.
Your logic was absolutely outrageous. That was the biggest problem we had.
I mean, what I'm going to say is we then put it to public vote. We narrowed it to 4 candidates. I think you've probably been the third of the...
What, who I wanted?
No, I think in the group think that we'd come to...
All right.
We were probably between 2 players and neither of them are the one that's got it.
Yeah, but I think you rigged the vote by splitting the vote, so that doesn't help.
Well, yeah, because Huntley did have 2 players in the vote. So we'd narrowed it down to Samuel Kukinitz, Tassawar Hussein, Alan Neve, and Jack Mitchell. And we asked you, our adoring public, to vote.
Can tell a lot of Meagle fans follow us, eh?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So this week's player of the week, thanks to the Meagle Massive, is Alan Neve for his 100 not out against Forfeishire's second 11.
Yep. Well, I mean, it was a good performance.
It was. I mean, it was legitimately in contention with.
Yeah, I'm not gonna knock it. Like it was. I think it was the hardest. That's the first time I think we've just been like,
nah.
Like I think one of us said something, and the other one was just like, "Don't agree with you."
Yeah,
and it's just like you're just not going to convince me. So
yeah, so it just went right. This has to go to Twitter, doesn't it?
Exactly. So, but it might be something we employ going forward as well.
Yeah,
it seems to go down well.
I think, in fairness, Alan has had a pretty strong season with the bat this year.
It seems to have more been just a batsman this year.
Yeah, but he's had more success than I think I've seen him have with the bat previously.
To be fair, we spoke to Pete Drummond before the start of the season, right? The start of the season,
just before the start.
And he did say about Alan's batting, felt it had come along. So, he did call it. So
Indeed.
Live on this podcast. Not live on the podcast.
No, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I think it's time to share our interview that we recorded earlier this evening with Arbroath's Bryce Carnegie. So we will pass you over to that now. We are delighted to be joined by Bryce Carnegie of Arbroath Cricket Club. Bryce, thank you very much for joining us. How are you this evening?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, you guys?
Yeah, good.
Not too bad.
Good, yeah. So, we've not had anyone from Arbroath on yet, so you're the first representative of the club on the podcast. Yeah. We're going to chat, I suppose, how the season's gone. It's been quite a challenging time for you on the field. But yeah, I'll a very vague opening question. How are things around about the club at the moment?
All considering they're still quite good. We've got a good following at the club most weeks when the games are on. We've still got the sponsored lunches that happen every week, so there's always different crowds up. I think obviously players are disappointed with how the first team season's gone, but the buzz around, there's still a buzz after the games. No one's disappearing after the games and leaving. There's still some decent nights out happening. So yeah, it's still good.
Okay, and that's good to hear because it'd be easy for everyone just to become dejected with a tough season. So and community feel around Arbroath is always something I've liked. You go up and a lot of grounds, you go up and there's the 22 people on the pitch, maybe an umpire depending on what standards you're playing at, and whereas it's always nice, there's a bit of a buzz in the bar and whatever. And people who tell you how terrible your dismissal were and things like that, but that's all right.
And a top quality feed, always a top quality feed.
That keeps the spirits up like that one anyway.
Yeah, I suppose one of the highlights of a tough season for your first team has been your overseas player, Luba, coming over, South African T20 internationalist. I know Arbroath have produced some very good Scottish internationalists over the year, but what was that like for the club, having a guy of that level playing and sharing things or whatever else he was up to at the club?
Yeah, well, he first came over the season before COVID, so we got a good use of him out of that year. We got him there for the full year, and it was you just saw he was different from the other guys we'd had. You know, just his demeanour in the club. He was always wanting to get involved with other things. Wasn't just there just for cricket. He was there for the club. And it was the same this year when he managed to finally get his visa.
Yeah.
Came over. He'd been watching the streams as well, so he knew what he needed to do. So he came prepared. He didn't just come over cold. He'd watched the streams. He was kind of came over with a plan already. And just the way he talked about cricket was just kind of like above everyone else. You know, we've had in my time anyway. Just his planning for games, and it was real helpful on the field having him there as well, just for bowlers to go, right, this is how to set your field. This is where you need to bowl. It was almost the same with the batters. You know, if he said, right, this is the field set, you need to hit it here, here, and here. And if you did that, you were going to score runs. So, yeah, he made things look easy, and the way he explained stuff made it sound easy as well. So yeah, he's a big part of that team when we got going for those 2 games we've won so far. Just his insight into the games was handy for especially for myself. It feels to bowlers who maybe not as consistent. Having him there just to go, well, let's change this, let's try this. Just something different, and playing at the level he's playing at, he's seen a lot more cricket than a lot of us on the pitch, so it's helpful, very helpful.
Yeah, because I suppose you kind of touched on guys who maybe aren't as consistent, but you kind of, that seems to be a problem for you guys this year, is that you very much seem to have had quite an inconsistent 11. Like when I used to umpire, I can think coming up to Arbroath, and you kind of knew if you didn't know the exact 11, you knew it's probably going to be 11 out of 12 or 13, whereas you seem to have had a broad spectrum of players representing the first team this season.
Yeah, I think we've probably had the most players play for the first team this year in a long time. We've normally got maybe, like you say, 13, 14 guys, but this year we've had to rely on a few guys who wouldn't have normally played. You know, had John Hammond play a few games now. Good player, but he probably didn't expect to be playing first team again at the age he was at. You know, he was happy to play 2s when he was available, but the way it's played, he's played I think 3 or 4 games for us. And then a few youngsters had to come up and actually play quite a big roles in the team. We've had Luke Hayes come up and open the bowling on multiple times, and he's only 15, and he's opened up. He opened up against Harriet when you've got Crosby at the other end, and Watkins when Ollie Hares is at the other end. So it's daunting for these youngsters to come up, but give them their due. They've all given it a go and tried their best, and that's what you can ask for when they come up, is that they give it their all, and they definitely have. So hopefully we've got 3 games that we can maybe pull it around. Hopefully we stay up and these boys can have another go next year, but if not, then it'll be playing in the first team, and whatever, if we go down, then it'll be playing in that first team in that league, just getting exposed to the first team players, because it's a different mentality when you play first team compared to the second team. You always notice that when you come up, it's such a big jump from second team to first team.
Yeah.
But these guys have done great this year. We're maybe not winning, but can't fault the guys that have come in to cover at all.
Yeah, I guess that's got to give you a lot of optimism for. I mean, it would take. We're now probably at the point where it would take something pretty special for there to be a turnaround in the last 3 games of this year. But you go into next year with these guys, as you say, having had that experience of bowling at these sort of the best players in the country. It can only stand them in good stead for them to potentially drop down a level and be really important sort of figureheads in the side next year. Yeah,
definitely. In bringing the first team players into that Strathmore Union, if we do go down, it gives them that better. You know, the second team's good, but our second team's all right, but there's even younger players playing in that. So, you know, the guys who are coming up, they'll maybe drop back to the second team and you get hit around a bit, but you go, well, maybe 30 of those runs, if you had the fielder in the right position, are stopped. So I think, you know, sometimes they go down and I think that they're worse, but they actually haven't. They're just playing with guys who are still young as well, so they're just not on the ball as much as they would be. So if we do end up in the Strathmore Union, I think these youngsters will play a big part in bringing us back up. They'll need to, because if we do get back up, they'll be needed again to play at the top level. So you don't want to rely on anyone else that's not going to be at the club at that point. We've got to bring on. We don't have the luxury of, finding someone coming to uni and deciding to stay over. We've got to bring up our own players.
Yeah.
That's not to get your big rivals there, Bryce, is it?
Oh no, not them. No, it's more Edinburgh, but stay there. No, so the Force are kind of, they're going through a rich patch, but most of those guys playing for them have all come through their youth system.
Yeah.
So, they're where we were maybe 5 years ago at this time. So, it's up and down with the clubs like us. We've got to bring on the youth, and if a couple of guys leave and you've not got the replacements, then you've got to wait a couple of years before they're ready. So you just have to take the good with the bad.
I suppose Falkland are a recent example. Obviously, I'm sure you guys will still be hoping to try and overcome them and stay in the division. But they kind of had a similar period to that. I think memory serves me right. They actually declined the playoff at one point because I think they felt they weren't ready to come straight back up. And I suppose you'll be hoping for similar. You've got a fantastic youth setup at Arbroath, which some clubs don't have the luxury of having. And I know that's from hard work from guys at the club. So that's not, it's not that you guys have fluked that situation. It's through hard work. But fingers crossed. But I'm sure you'll be fighting your hardest to stay up, though.
Yeah, it's still mathematically possible. 3 wins needed out of 3, and hope other results go our way as well. We're still confident. We still see ourselves as one of the teams that can beat. We've beat Watson's in the past. We've got Watson's, Stumel and Castorphin left, with 2 of them being at home and an away game to Stumel. So we still see ourselves as able to win those games. The season might, but we've still got the talent's not massively off from where we were last year. We're only missing maybe 1 or 2 players from last year. So if we play up to our potential, there's no reason we can't end up with 3 wins at the end, and we could end up potentially finishing above Stonywood Dice as well. So
yeah, they're not completely out of it.
No.
Certainly. And I think we actually had that discussion last week and felt that if you do get above someone, I'd probably expect it to be Stonywood rather than Falkland. I think Falkland will get above Stonywood as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I think actually on form currently, while you guys are sitting bottom, you're probably not actually by form the worst team in the league currently. I think, unfortunately for you guys, fortunately for Stonywood Dice, they had a very good start to the season. So I think that's the bit. But yeah, there are 3. I'd agree with you. There are 3 winnable games. There'll be tough games, no doubt.
Yeah.
Luck, as with any game, you probably need those half chances to stick and whatever else, and not when you're batting, but it's. I'm sure there'll be a lot of. I can imagine the scenes would be wild if you did survive. Though I'm sure it'd be a good night in the bar.
I mean, because Stortford at home last game. I mean, that could be, if that's a must-win game, that could end up being quite a good Saturday if we do pull that off.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're all going for it. We've not resigned to the fact that we're going down. We still plan on being here next year. So we've just got to take every game now and hope. If we do our part, then we just got to hope other teams can do us a favour.
Yeah,
unlike my brother in Grange the other week with Falkland. It's not heard the end of that one.
I bet that was one of those scorecard shits. I'm like, what?
Yeah, go quick phone call on the way home. What are you guys up to there? Like, but yeah.
I know. I can. So I suppose if you guys do, if you can, do the miracle and stay up, it's what? How do you think? Do you think is it with young guys coming in? Is it overseas players? Do you think is it maybe a pro Ananami next year, or how do you think you guys would handle staying up?
Yeah, well, with Matt, we've got an amateur now who arrived he's played 2 games for the club. He arrived, so this will be his 3rd week in the country.
Right.
Because again, our original amateur visa didn't get a visa.
Right.
So then we scrambled to get someone else, and we applied to spoke to Cricket Scotland about getting dispensation to register him after the cut-off, because again, it took 4 weeks for his visa to come through.
Yeah.
So we do have one currently who'll be playing on Saturday. But going forward, I think if we stay up, we'll be looking to get someone again, probably of Vian's standard. If not Vian, it'll be someone round about that standard. Because of not just the playing ability, but just what they bring to the club is.
Yeah.
He's shown that it's definitely worth the money. His coaching stuff as well. He's done a lot of coaching with the kids and the young players coming through. You know, he's always there an hour or two before training for any of the young guys that want help. I mean, and you had you got him, and he's got contacts with Marco Jansen up at the club while he was on a break from down in England. He came up and gave a few of the youngsters a bit of bowling tips. So that's something you don't expect to rock up to training.
Yeah.
And see this big tall boy standing out in the middle. You go, I wonder who that is, and you get out there and it's Marco Jansen. So the young boys loved that. It was good to see.
You were hoping it was the army had arrived. Is that it?
Well, yeah, I was hoping just ran, pulled in a mate and going, "Oh, look, here," because we could do without an extra opening bowler. Try to get him to stay for Saturday, but no, I couldn't stay.
I'd imagine his match fee might be quite hefty.
Yeah, I think would have been a tough one to steal away from South Africa. But,
IPL to Arbroath.
what you want?
Natural progression.
Yeah.
Well, I think obviously, we're wishing you all the best of luck. I suppose from our point of view as a podcast, realistically, that's covering the sort of SPCU area. Realistically, somebody from our area is unfortunately going to have to go down. We wish you all luck, I suppose.
But you've come and done an interview with us, and the other two haven't. So we wish you more luck.
All right, there we go.
So the other two clubs need to sort themselves out and come speak to us.
That's it. If you survive, it's purely because you've come on this podcast.
That's absolutely it. Yeah. So yes, as I say, we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
For the remaining games, and thank you very much for coming and chatting.
No thanks, Bryce.
No problem.
Thanks again to Bryce for joining us. Good to chat about Arbroath, and all the best for the rest of the season. And we'll hopefully have when he's on again at some point in the near future too. Right, it's predictions time, isn't it? So let's have a look at how we did last week.
Pretty well.
Yeah, we both did all right. We both neither of us picked that Gordonians were going to be defeated by Stoneywood Dice.
Yeah, I'm not
that's
convinced. Yeah, I don't think many people would have been picking that.
No.
I think if this was a contest we put out to the wider public and it was done by Stoneywood Dice players, I'm not sure they'd have picked themselves to win if they were being honest. So
yeah.
It was an upset, but fair play to them. But 6 points each.
Yeah. So that moves us on to the scores, and I guess it's as you were. The gap remains at 2 points.
I look forward to growing
3
more again.
weeks to go. Tight. Still tight. Still in this. Let's move on to this week's predictions then. So the fixtures are Dundee High School former pupils versus Arbroath United, Fruki versus Forfarshire, Meagle versus Perth Ducat, Kinloch versus Stoneywood Dice, Gordonians against Aberdeenshire, and this is how we're calling it. So we have both agreed on Arbroath, Meagle, Kinloch and Aberdeenshire as expecting them to be victorious.
Yep.
And we're split on the Fruki versus Forfarshire 2's game. You've gone for Forfarshire 2's. I really ummed and ahed about this one and went for Fruki.
You just wanted to be different on something to try and claw some points back.
Pretty much. I did. I wanted to go different on one of the fixtures, and I felt like this was the one. Fruki are without Safi. He's playing for Scotland this week.
Yep.
He is always a massive miss. Would be their first win this season without him? Or did they win one without him?
Oh no, because it was Dundee High School was last week.
And he was there.
Playing. So no.
I think it would be their first victory this year without him.
But remember, they don't rely on him, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. So Dundee High School are Arbroath. I mean, I think we back anyone who's playing Dundee High School. It's just it's worked for us all year.
And everyone else.
Yeah. So, Fruki Force, yeah, to be honest, I've backed Force just because Safi's not playing.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Force have let me down quite a lot recently, so come on, lads, pull it out, eh? Come on, sort it.
Carry on.
Meagle Ducat. I genuinely think this is the title decider in this game.
I completely agree with you. Who have Meagle got in the last 2 games?
So Meagle have got Arbroath 2s and Dundee High School.
Yeah, they're not dropping either of those games.
So no, I mean, and if you look, Aberdeenshire have got 3 games left as well.
Yeah,
probably 3 games. Yeah, they'll fancy themselves to win them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't catch them up. But I think, I mean, if Meagle lose this, then probably it becomes Aberdeenshire's to win, because Huntly aren't playing this week and therefore can only gain 50 more points. So if Aberdeen, currently they're tied, I know there's tiebreakers, but if both win out, Aberdeenshire finish just ahead of Huntly.
Yeah. It comes back to that week 1 win, doesn't it? Where they managed to force that victory when everyone else was rained off.
Could be massive.
It still could be. So yeah, that's where we're at with the predictions. It's my joker this week, and I've taken the trusted tactic of back whoever's playing Dundee High School. So I've gone for Arbroath.
Disgraceful behaviour.
Because you didn't get to play those tactics because it wasn't your choice this week.
Well, exactly, and it's disgraceful behaviour. And I went with Aberdeenshire.
Yeah. Gordonians did lose to Stonywood last week.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. They're still in the best 3 teams. Aberdeenshire are in the best 3 teams in the league. It should be coming.
Yeah, keep going.
It's whirling round. So.
Aberdeenshire
should be in the top 3 teams. Are in the top 3 teams, sorry. Gordonians had the defeat last, but even without the defeat last week, I'd have still been back in Aberdeenshire. Whether they got my joker, I don't know. But so yeah, here's hoping the wheels are not coming off, because they've got bowled out a bit more cheaply than they were and things like that.
Yeah, they have. It was a tough week for predictions this week, I have to say.
It was. I think the top one, Dundee High School, that's got Arbroath written all over it. But I think the other 4, I wouldn't be massively shocked to see anyone winning those games, because they're all capable. Perth Ducat have knocked Meagle over twice in T20 cricket this year. So, I mean, it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world.
Gordonians have defeated Aberdeenshire in T20 cricket as well.
Yeah, and the Kinloch Stonywood Dice game, I think that'll be a close game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So I think Kinloch just have the capability of scoring bigger runs than Stonywood, and that's probably the difference between them. Yeah. But I'll look forward to being ahead of you next week.
And, we'll see. We will see. Right. I think that brings us to the end.
This is the end. I don't know why I was pressing a button and I'm not even on the right screen, but pressing a button and there's nothing to see.
Yeah. Anyway, so as
it's really hot in here.
It's absolutely boiling. Do get in touch with us on Twitter at DibDobPod. Do comment, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff on the YouTube channel.
350 followers, I noticed.
Oh yeah, we did on Twitter. Yeah, we've had a successful day followers-wise, actually, which is nice. So yeah, keep spreading the word. And yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll speak to you again next time.
Bye, everyone.